now Mark Hunt has come out and argued we need a fighters union. Yeah. He's claimed that Dana, Lorenzo, and all of them have made billions off of the blood of fighters. You know, the broken bones.
Line their pockets with the blood.
I think that was the quote. Yeah. And then he's reached out now on social media to fighters saying, let's get this thing started. Mm-hmm. Do you think a fighters union will happen if Mark Hunt leads? I mean, he's on the kind of tail end of his career here, and I mean, this has been talked about before. I mean, Jose Aldo has said, let's do fighters union, and that's never happened.
TJ Dillashaw's been vocal about fighter pay. He has.
Did you see what happened at UFC 200 for his pay?
Well, I don't recall.
Sage Northcutt made more than TJ Dillashaw.
Shut up.
Yeah, Sage Northcutt I think made 100. That's total win and show, absurd. and then or made 100 to show, 100 to win, and TJ made 50 to show, that's 50 absurd. To win. I think that's what it was. I might not be right. Don't quote me on that.
That's absurd.
But yeah, I mean, you're talking about a bantamweight champion versus a prospect who's never fought anybody in the top 10 of the lightweight or welterweight division. I think he's fought in both weight classes. I mean, he got beat by Bryan Barberena his last fight. He didn't look particularly. You might even argue he might have lost that last fight in 200.
Mind you, the Bryan Barberena fight, he was sick. Like that's what he said. He said he was.
You fight, right? You fight.
Dude, when you're sick and you got like a viral thing going on, like that takes out a lot so that's the only thing I would argue. But yeah, his last fight.
But even the fight before that, he didn't look super impressive. I forgot who he fought, but
I'm gonna be honest with you. From watching the mixed martial arts for so long, it just. Listen, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt because he is really young.
Yeah, he's super young.
But I mean, I get the gist that he's kind of being shielded by his father, and that I don't see him going to legitimate gyms.
Well, he's training at TriStar.
Not for a full serious camp. He's gone for like a consultation almost to TriStar. He's kind of had some input from Faraz and stuff like that. So, but he didn't go to TriStar, stay in Montreal, and do a full camp with Faraz. Yeah. And if he did, that's when I think you would see his full potential. Because when I see him fight right now, I see a lot of really stupid mistakes. I see a lot of immaturity, obviously, of just him getting overexcited and that comes with getting older.
And fighting's an emotional sport.
It's very emotional, and he has an advantage of having tons of competition experience, having done karate competition since he was a kid and everything. But I think he's nowhere near his full potential, and I think he'll only get there if he really partners himself up with someone legitimate like a Greg Jackson or a Faraz or one of those guys.
Just because we got off topic here, let's get back to the union, the fighter union. Here's what I think. I don't think a fighter union is going to happen anytime soon. If it does happen, there is a question whether it affects the UFC sale that has just been happening. UFC just sold for $4 billion to. I always forget the first three initials. W something something.
WMG.
WMG IMG.
IME.
IME. Okay, I'm screwing up the name. Anyway, it's a big, conglomerate of agencies that have bought the.
Yeah, and they manage a lot of. Our battery died.
Our battery just died. So we are shooting this in the comfort of Bryan's own home, and I did not charge my batteries last night, so that is my fault. Anyway, we were on the topic of. The fighter union and the sale. So, to me, I just finished off saying I don't think the union's going to happen. If it does happen, how do you think it affects the sale?
You don't think the union's going to happen ever?
I don't know. I just don't think it's happening in the immediate future. I think...
How long?
I think you need someone like... I think even Brian Straub had mentioned this on his podcast. You need someone like a Conor or someone like that, like a Ronda... to lead it and just basically say we will not fight.
Someone with chips in their corner.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they can let Mark Hunt go. Yeah. Mark Hunt's 42, 43 years old.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
They
tried to pay him.
He's actually not supposed to be there.
Yeah, they tried to get rid of him years ago.
Yeah.
So
they paid him not to fight. So
listen, my heart feels for Mark Hunt. I love Mark Hunt. I've loved watching that guy fight. I mean, ever since I started following the UFC, that man does not deserve to keep fighting people who are cheating over and over again. I mean, the UFC knew what it was doing when...
Or just being mistreated in general.
I mean, here's the thing, because Brock got an exemption. Just to give a little background to that, people thought, they're cheating for Brock. The way the exemption worked is that Brock was under an old contract.
Yeah.
And...
before the USADA era.
Before the USADA era. And the way it works now is that the exemptions are made all the time, but they're typically made for new fighters.
Yeah.
When the UFC signs somebody, they don't test. UFC doesn't test them for 4 months. They get what is called a UFC exemption.
Yeah.
And they get to fight within the month, but they get tested throughout that month.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you see a new fighter that's coming in on 2 weeks notice, and they just call this guy up, and he has to get tested, that's always used. So in this case, it was used for Brock Lesnar, and that's what the exemption was. Now, is it a loophole? Yes, it's a loophole. But again, Mark Hunt deserves better. Does there need to be a fighter union? Hell yeah, there does. I mean, when we're talking
at some point,
when we're talking about the UFC selling for $4 billion, just to get an idea, there's fighters that have been with the UFC a long time, and literally, when they leave the UFC, they go into poverty. Now that could be their own mismanagement of money, but take Chris Lieben for someone. I mean, he's if you've been following where Chris Lieben is, he's not in a great place financially, from what I saw last time I looked at his some updates
financial
on that were coming up.
statements?
Yeah, well, I haven't seen updates on his life and stuff. It's pretty sad because Lieben was a staple in the UFC for maybe a decade.
Big
I think.
name,
But when you look at we don't know what the fighters are being paid. They're playing some disclosure with. If you're a superstar, you're probably getting paid a lot. But are you still even making the money you deserve? Let's say, they're talking about John Jones might be missing out on $30 million over 3 years. So he's making, and that's people being generous.
maybe more.
People are saying, so let's give
maybe more when you include endorsements.
Let's say
and
he's
things like
making $15 million just from UFC fights and whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Let's be generous and say that's what he makes, including the bonuses.
Yeah.
The UFC just sold for $4 billion.
Yeah.
Okay? And the way I've been told that the fighter pay works is that 10% goes to the fighters. 10 to 15% goes to the fighters. And that other 85 to 90% goes to the Fertitta brothers and Dana White and their other partner that's with them in that ownership realm. But that is absurd. That's absurd. You take any other major sport, we're talking about 55-45. You go to NBA, NHL, soccer, you do any of these sports, that's how it works. Fighting is a different business. I'm willing to admit that. I admit a fighter's only as good as their last fight, which is the reality, the sad truth. But yeah, I just don't see. I don't see how a fighter. They gotta get a lawyer that gets in on this. I'm surprised no lawyer has, considering the money that's on the table. But they need. Listen, we're talking about lawyers too. The UFC has the best lawyers in the game.
Well,
they've been able to get
the
players.
The person with the most money has the best lawyers.
Yeah,
right.
So, but
they have $4 billion worth of lawyers.
I'm not sure what the fighters get off video game sales, off of franchising, over their own jerseys.
From what I understand and from the research I've done, they don't. Most of them don't get anything from the video games.
That is absurd. That is fucking absurd.
The Reebok deal.
That's your right. Your name is in that game.
I know. Your likeness. And you signed it away. Yeah. So from what I understand, most of them don't make anything off the video game. And the Reebok deal, when it came into effect, they were supposed to get a certain amount of Reebok money from just Reebok in general, Reebok endorsements, and the percentage off, like a cut off of the merch with their name on it.
Yeah.
Like their Reebok shirts, like their personalized shirts and stuff like that. And I listen.
Worst uniforms ever.
Horrible.
The Reebok. We will save the Reebok for another day.
I could do a whole episode on the stupidity of the Reebok line.
Let's finish up on this fighter union.
I like Reebok, but the UFC shit is horrible.
It should be a done deal. But we're gonna touch on that in another episode. But I want to talk about. Yeah. Just this. You finish up your point with the fighter union and Mark Hunt debacle and sale and everything.
So the fighters union, as far as that goes, if it happens, it's I almost feel like, and listen, I don't mean to make, and this isn't all fighters. I'm not lumping everybody in together, but many of these fighters, they're not Harvard graduates. Okay, they're
of course.
Their goal, their skills are to fight. And they're physically very intelligent. They've got very smart fight intelligence. But they're not necessarily made for like business or for finances or things like that. No. So I don't think that a fighters union is going to be spawned from fighters. I think it's going to be spawned from fight management and fight lawyers.
And that's a very I can see what that.
I think it's going to take. But the thing is, as a fighter, even you don't have to be the smartest human being to get an idea going, just because you don't understand the intricacies of the idea. So a fighter could want the union to happen for the sake of all fighters being treated fairly, and tell his much more qualified manager and or lawyer, I want to get this put into effect. Like, let's do what we need to do, rally the people that we need to get around this. And realistically, the only way I think a fighters union is going to happen is if multiple managers, multiple lawyers all come together and make a team. Like, start some sort of team, like a legal entity of some kind that has a lot of financial backing behind it, fighters backing behind it, intelligence behind it, experience behind it, that makes a push against the company, where you can literally get enough fighters and enough managers and enough personnel to go on strike or do something crazy, and then you also have the experience to back it up. For when you go on strike, you also have demands that you make and demands that need to be met before you come back into the fold. So we could see. I'm not gonna lie. Before we see a fighters union, I think we'll see a UFC lockout.
Yes, that's
I think
exactly what
we'll see, like,
you have to see that
1 year, which would suck for the fighters. In the
but it's
suck for everybody.
I don't think it'll be 1 year. I don't think
it'll
it'll be 1 year. I think it'll happen a lot faster.
Who knows what it'll be?
Yeah.
But I think you'll see like.
A
I think
lockout is
one
what's gonna
person will
take.
join, because there's a handful of fighters who I know have the balls and have the bravery to say, fuck it, I'm not fighting.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting until we get this done or we get this deal made.
Yeah.
And I think it will take that one fighter that you're talking about. Like, it will take a guy like McGregor or like to really sway and you know, turn the tables, if you will. So I think that's how it's going to happen. I think it would have to be a lockout, and I think a lockout would have to happen, and the company would have to be losing money. And it would have to be horrible for both parties, to the point where one of them, it's like a game of chicken, and one of them gives up and gives in and says, okay, fine, what do you want? You know what I mean? Because this company, WME-IMG, they're not buying WMG.
It's like I'm always gonna forget it. Yeah, they're very powerful. Let's just go with that.
They're large. They have money.
They're a big deal.
They didn't buy the UFC to just like maintain the status quo. They bought the UFC because they think they can do a better job.
Well,
in my opinion,
I think the profit margin was also had to be a big part of the sell. The fighters make 10 to 15.
100%.
So they're looking at it like, okay, if you make a revenue of 600 million, which they did last year, that's 90 to 85% going to the owners and management. Yeah, that's amazing. If I'm buying it, I want to buy that. Yeah. But now, if the fighters are coming in and they're saying this, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, there's rumors that it's kind of affecting the sale. Dana's come out and said it's not affecting the sale. But Dana says a lot of stuff, and he said they weren't even selling it. They sold it, so...
At this point, I don't take anything that Dana says
seriously. You can't. So. Trump, 2016. Nice.
But, I think... I don't think they bought it to just reap the revenue. I think they bought it because they think they can do a better job. Okay. And they think they've got ideas for expansion. So... I don't know what's going to happen. None of us have any clue.
I think it'll be a slow transition.
It will be a slow transition, but this, realistically, the sport could not look very different in 10 years, or it could almost not exist, or just be completely 10 times bigger. We don't know what's going to happen. It's exciting in a way, because we're in like the infancy of a sport, which you never really get to see at this level in the past 40, 50 years even. You know what I mean? But there has to be a union. I think it will happen at one point. The only issue, again, and a lot of people don't mention this, but fighters are not a team.
And that is the problem.
And that changes things
Because even in the NBA, right?
They're contractors.
No, but even in the NBA, right? You could have Steph Curry and LeBron go at it in the finals. Yeah. But behind closed doors, they can hang out. Yeah. They can chill. Yeah. You're not going to see Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor be like that. They don't like each other, you know? You never see John Jones and Danny Cormier be buddies. Yeah. Could they get together on an issue like this? I think when money talks, but, you know, like you said, I think a lockout is definitely something that has to happen for a union to even materialize or for it to even be taken seriously. Yeah.